It is 12:15, so you know what that means. It is time for the Sports Hour presented by Curtis Collings. I'm excited for today because of course we had AEW Dynamite last night and wow, was that a good show. I mean, what a time to be an AEW fan. And if you missed yesterday, I went on this whole spiel about AEW. Um, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's a wrestling company like WWE, and it's the best in the world. And the best way, I guess, to describe it to you would be to do a little rundown of the show last night. Um, General overview before we get into it. This is the Sports Hour, and of course, I am Curtis Collings, the man that is presenting this. And we have a pretty fun day today. Um, of course, if you're new around here, we talk about the Blue Jays, we talk about AEW, we talk about the Raptors, the Leafs, and of course, the Carolina Panthers, who we will be talking about today. Because, we have to be every day because there's always something going on. Today, we're bringing back the segment Real Questions, Real Answers. I pose a question on the Real app, which, again, if you don't know, if you use apps like ESPN or The Score or any of those things to keep up with stats, this is a version of that, but it's more of a community-based app with chat rooms and fans and toxicity as you'd expect in any social media. But it's a fun time, and I am very prevalent. Well, not prevalent. I wouldn't say that word, but I frequent the Panthers chat rooms and I post a lot. So if you do know what I'm talking about, you would see me as Ice Bryce Season, and we will talk about that later. But of course, first things first, I do want to talk about AEW. So Dynamite. Before we get into the show, I gotta air some personal grievances. Why are we waiting so long to announce matches? I do not get this. This makes no sense to me. I did the show yesterday at 12:15 to 1:15, just like today. And yesterday, by this time, I knew 2 matches and 1 talking segment. That's inexcusable. That's, I'm sorry, but, as fans, we need to know more before the show starts. We need more reason to tune into the show. People like me, people like my dad, we're going to watch no matter what. Because we love the show, we stand the show. It's our favorite TV show, just probably in general. Nothing hits quite like it, so we're going to watch no matter what. But for the average wrestling fan who likes WWE but is kind of lapsed, they don't like it as much anymore, or maybe they still want to watch wrestling but they can't support WWE. If you're announcing matches on Twitter, these fans will see them. This is just the nature of how information gets spread. It kills me. I could rant about this forever and a day. Because also, while I was live yesterday, and I guess this is on me for not being on Twitter while doing the show. I guess this is my fault. But there was the women's match, which was a banger, announced during the Sports Hour. I think it was right as I was wrapping up, they announced that it was going to be Mercedes Moné, and I'm pretty sure it was Tekla and Sky Blue facing off against Willow, Queen Aminata, and Alex Windsor. Which is exactly what I was asking for, almost to a T. I was talking about how I like my spooky spider ladies and how awesome that group's been, the Triangle of Fear, or whatever their names nowadays. If I had known about that while I was talking about AEW yesterday, I would have been all over it, and I would have told anyone watching to go check that out because those are some of the best women's wrestlers on the planet right now. And they had a great match. Especially shout outs to Queen Aminata. I mean, Mercedes Moné, to any WWE fans, Sasha Banks. Mercedes Moné is just her, but better. She's evolved into this just the best woman in all of pro wrestling. Right there with Rhea Ripley. And I'll give her respect for that, but she's right there with her. If I had known about that, I would have been quite pumped and I would have told you guys all about it. But no, Instead, they announced it late. They announced the trios match late with Samoa Joe coming back, Hobbs also back, and Shibata. They wrestled in a trios match, which we'll get into that later on. Because again, it was a very good Dynamite, and they started that trios match at like 9:55. Maybe I was a little behind because of lag and buffering, but it felt very late, and it felt like they had a lot of overrun. So we'll get into this. Of course, I have the results on my phone from last night. I do want to shout out Alex Cars for compiling this so quickly. Because usually, online you can find Dynamite recaps, but this is, the first one that I've seen come out. And he released it yesterday. Of course, they were in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it started off with Hangman and MJF coming out for their promo segment, and this was phenomenal. And these guys have so much history. You hear it on the announcement team. I think it was Excalibur who was like, these guys, the first match in AEW history was these two guys. And so, there's a lot of history. That was the first Double or Nothing, I'm pretty sure, was those two guys facing off against each other. So the history is there, and they've wrestled before many of times. They, I think it was Full Gear where they wrestled one-on-one one year. Maybe it wasn't Full Gear because I know that Full Gear Hangman wrestled Jay White in 2024, so it wouldn't be that. But I know that they faced off on a pay-per-view as I think the opener, because MJF, he loves to be the opener because he loves to go home after immediately, which I totally believe that. It's not even a joke. I just think MJF gets in his car and goes home, doesn't even shower, just Full Gear, drives home. But I know they've wrestled before, and that one was MJF baiting masterfully Hangman into a match. And this one became Hangman baiting MJF into signing his contract, which was basically AEW's version of Money in the Bank. But instead of cashing it on the spot, MJF says, fine, you want me, you got me, I'm cashing in at Forbidden Door. And Hangman just laughs at him in his face. And it has spawned so many memes, and it is such a great segment. These two guys are on top of the world right now. MJF just comes out and admits it that, according to you fans, of course me included, the people in the ring right now are the protagonist and antagonist of AEW, which I fully believe in. And then he makes fun of us for believing in that, because what else would MJF do? This then goes into the Mox match against Kevin Knight, who is phenomenal. And I've seen so many people on Twitter saying that this guy could be the next world champion. And I absolutely see that. Not next, I shouldn't say next, but future world champion. A lot of people are putting him in that spot. Maybe I think it was Black Girls Wrestling, or whatever they're called, because they're a fantastic podcast, and I love watching their tweets, I guess reading their tweets on Twitter. I think it was either Lyric that said it, but it was Kevin Knight is going to be the next African-American world champion, which I could fully see that. I see maybe Will Hobbs winning it beforehand, but that's a separate discussion. He, in this match, shows off his athleticism like you wouldn't believe, and Moxley makes him look really good, and also makes Moxley look really strong. I mean, these guys, just like the speedball match from last week, I'm pretty sure, these guys Mox's style with these guys is just so phenomenal, and it's one of a kind. I've never really, it's something growing up. This is not wrestling I was accustomed to. I guess watching wrestling, AEW, I'm accustomed to it now, but, not something growing up. So that is for certain. And of course, I predicted this would have shenanigans in it. It did not during the match. Moxley gets a chokeout win over Kevin Knight at the end in the middle of the ring, looking very strong, as he should. I mean, he's Jon Moxley. Of course, afterwards, bell rings. He won't let go of the chokeholds because he is a bastard. And we all know this. So Speedball, of course, runs into the ring to try to help Kevin Knight. And then that prompts Yuta to run in and beat down on Speedball. And then that causes a big beatdown. And then comes out Darby Allin with a body bag and a skateboard. And he attacks Yuta, puts him in the body bag, goes up to the top rope to try to give him a coffin drop in the body bag. He's trying to kill him because Darby's not, or Yuta's gonna have no idea when he's gonna hit. But Claudio comes in, makes the save, and then puts Darby in the body bag. He's the most ridiculous Claudio Castagnoli wrestler on maybe the planet, just because of his moves that he has, what he's able to do to other wrestlers. He picks up Darby in the body bag and he puts him on his shoulders and he does the UFO spin and he lets go, no hands, just spinning on his back, and just dumps him on the ground. And I'm like, Darby's dead. He had no way of preparing to hit the ground. He's probably like in two pieces in there. And then they get him out, and then of course Will Ospreay comes out to help Darby out, and Will Ospreay and them, they run away, and Ospreay forces them to run, and he hops on the mic and he challenges them. He says, "I'm gonna get my friends, bruv, and we're gonna," I'm not doing the British accent after that, but I'm gonna get my friends, bruv, and we're gonna fight lights out, steel cage, bruv. 5-on-5. It gets announced later on. I'm not sure when the full match was announced, but if you could tell by, my reaction, oh my god, I cannot wait. Oh, it's gonna be so good. So we'll get into that later. But he announces that, and that ends the segment. It was really fun. Afterwards, we get the women's match that I was waiting for and asking for, of course. Let's see. Did we get the announcement yet? I'm not sure. Oh, after that, of course, we get a video package about Adam Copeland, his injury history and whatnot, and then the Stokely match that'll happen later. And then we get our women's match, which I said before was fantastic. I'll say again was fantastic. Of course, the winner of this one was Alex Windsor, who has really been impressing me lately. AEW just has this bar, this high bar that the in-ring standard is at, and it's so hard to compete with, where you bring in a new talent, and as a fan, part of you is worried that they can't hang, because that's just how good it is. But she has been so good. Great promos. Really like her promos. She's fitting in nicely with Toni Storm, and she's, picking up the pace and, getting more rambunctious as the weeks go on, which I quite like. It's been a lot of fun. And she's good in ring. She's really good in ring. So I really liked this. She picks up the win with Queen Aminata and Willow Nightingale. So really good women's match. And they're just on fire. I saw that all over Twitter. I don't remember who tweeted it because that was last night. And I didn't fall asleep during this. Not like the Blue Jays game. It wasn't as calm and peaceful as Barrios pitching. So I stayed up during all of this. And I was on Twitter a lot of the time, reading through what you guys, the fans, were saying, and then watching the show myself. And someone was saying that oh my goodness, what were they saying? How did I get into this point? This is bad. But they really liked it. Oh, yes, I remember. They said that the AEW's women's division is on fire, and it might be the best in wrestling, which I was saying yesterday, which I think is just funny that, I'm with the community, which I really enjoy. And then immediately after, Athena and Toni Storm were fighting it out on the balcony because they can't be separated. And it looks like Athena and Mercedes Moné are kind of coexisting right now. And Mercedes Moné, anytime Toni is around, is kind of looking a little like shy, like standoffish, because that's the only woman that's beat her so far. So some interesting ripples there, some really great storytelling. And if you're not keeping up with the women in AEW, I don't know what you're doing, because they have been telling sometimes better stories than the men. So the women's division, I will say it deserves more time on TV. I mean, you have Collision, which does get more women's time than Dynamite. I feel like usually, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm speaking on my ass. But you have two shows. Use them both. Promote these women more, because they really deserve it. I mean, of course, it was one of the three main events on All In, was the Toni Storm match. And, of course, Toni Storm, so long as she's champion, she deserves to be in a main event, because she just has that special aura about her that I feel like I've never really seen from just any wrestler before, woman or man. So, this is where we learn about a few of the people that are going to be in the Forbidden Door Lights Out Steel Cage match. Will Ospreay confirms that the man on his retirement tour, not John Cena, the other one, Hiroshi Tanahashi, will be in the match with his busted knees, which is going to be really interesting to see. I mean, he's a legend, and 8, 9, 7, maybe even that recent, he was good years ago. But since COVID, he's kind of, lost the step. But, as someone who likes studying wrestling history, he has some of the most phenomenal matches that I've seen. So, there's reasons to be excited. The other reasons to be excited is that it's also going to be Darby Allin. And then it's going to be Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega making up the 5. Kenny Omega, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi in a New Japan show. That's like huge news. That's like the Beast Mortos being in the Mexico Arena, which is also huge. Like, big things are happening in 2025 just in the wrestling industry, and AEW is making it happen. So, back to what I was saying, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's coming back for this. Oh, I can't wait for that either. And then, of course, this is going to be against the Death Riders, who are still around. I mean, just because Mox ain't champion doesn't mean they're going anywhere. So this is going to be, of course, Mox, Claudio Castagnoli, Gabe Kidd from New Japan. And then we'll wait, because this is later in the show when the final two guys are announced. The Brotherly Connection. Wink, wink. But until then, we go back to our next match. which it felt like a match that was taken right out of the Attitude Era, excuse me. It felt like it could have happened in the year 1999 or the year 2025, I guess, because these are the times we're living in, where it's just awesome to be a wrestling fan. Adam Copeland, one-on-one against Stokely Hathaway. Because we can do that. Because why not? Because that's a matchup. Of course, the story going into this is that FTR tried to retire Edge. They pile drove him. There we go. They gave him spike pile driver, tried to write him off, in a brace. Ignore that. Edge was at most of the Leaf playoff games. But he came back, and it's been really fun because he's not been in the main event scene. So we'll take our Adam Copeland fun while we have it. And he helped Christian Cage at All In go find yourself, which a lot of people are calling corny. I love it so much. I mean, this is exactly what you expect from these guys. And so he's now trying to get his revenge on FTR. But for some reason, he's not allowed to touch FTR, contract or whatever. wrestling shenanigans, but he is allowed to touch Stokely Hathaway. And so now they're having their one-on-one match. Stokely Hathaway, his entrance is being dragged out by security and being forced to do the match, which I thought was just comedy gold. And then Stokely Hathaway tries to do a spear. And please seek it out if you haven't, because it is... Oh my goodness. Stokely Hathaway was born to do this. It's one of my favorite things. It makes me laugh. It made me laugh so hard watching it last night, and it makes me laugh thinking about it today. And then they brawl around the outside, and then Copeland gets a microphone, and then goes and does a live Q&A with the audience, and he goes up to one young lad around my age, and he says, "What do you think about Stokely Hathaway?" And the kid goes, "Well, he's short, he's bald, and he gets no hose." And the crowd erupts, and then Copeland's laughing, and he's walking around, and he asks, which is just ridiculous, he asks, "Are there any hoes here in Cincinnati?" And almost every single woman in the crowd goes crazy, which, 2025, we love it. Everyone's allowed to be whatever they want. And then he goes into the crowd while beating up Stokely and puts the mic up to a lady's face and then says, would you consider dating Stokely Hathaway? And then she says, "Is that a serious question?" Which gets the crowd to erupt. And then says, "Oh God, no." And then he continues the beat down until FTR comes out. Shenanigans ensue. Christian comes out. His music hits. He makes the save. He's found himself, potentially. He's found himself. He comes in, and then Nick Wayne comes in to try to, spoil the fun. And then Christian Cage thwarts that. And then Cope grabs Christian and hugs him. And they hug in the ring. And Christian and Edge and Christian are back. I'm sorry, I gotta say that. Cope and Christian are back. That doesn't sound quite as right. And it is a magical, magical moment. It felt so good. Good stuff here. Good stuff. And then immediately announced after that's going to be Cope and Christian versus Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian at Forbidden Door. It is going to be their first time tagging in 20 years. I read online, and I don't know how true this is. I hope it is true. Is that the last time Copeland and Christian tagged together, Nick Wayne wasn't alive yet. And I'm 2 years older than Nick Wayne. So there's a chance, if that match was in 04 or 05, like early 05, then I was alive. But if it was in 03, there's a good chance that this is going to be no matter what, but this is going to be the first time in my life that live I'm going to be watching Edge and Christian, the greatest Canadian tag team, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And that's a very, very surreal feeling. That's very cool. And that's something that AEW has given me so many opportunities with guys like Sting especially. It's just like Shaq. I saw a Shaq match live on TV. Like, these are the things that I would never imagine. Never imagined as a young wrestling fan would be possible. So, pretty cool. Especially hugging it out afterwards. Like, really good feel-good moment. It got to a lot of the people. And then next up was our 8-man All-Star tag match, which was also a lot of fun. You're going to hear that a lot when I'm talking about AEW. Oh, this was a lot of fun. This was so much fun because, yeah, a lot of the stuff that goes on these shows is a blast. It is so much fun. This was the match where it was going to be, who is the other guy? It was Josh Alexander and, of course, Kyle Fletcher of the Don Callis family, and then the Young Bucks, the broke jobber Bucks, as we like to call them. And this match was, of course, against Hologram, Brody King. Who was that third guy? It was, finding it right here, Tomohiro Ishii, which was also really fun. I love Ishii a lot. And then it was a mystery New Japan guy, which we knew was going to be Kyle Fletcher's opponent at Forbidden Door for the TNT title. And coming out was, I want to make sure I get this correct, so look, I'm going to read it. Takahashi, who is a really fun wrestler to watch. Great high flyer, a 5-time junior heavyweight champion. So he's going to be a lot of fun. I think he's had a match with Fletcher before. I could be wrong, though. And if they haven't, then it's going to be a ton of fun at Forbidden Door because of what I saw in this 8-man match, which I was texting my buddy Nick during it. And I was just like, are you watching this? This is unreal. Crazy stuff. There was a jumping, spinning tombstone piledriver by Kyle Fletcher because he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. He's so good. So yeah, a lot of fun this match was. It went 2 full segments, 2 different ad breaks during this match because they were balling that long, which I think it might be this match. It's why we had so much overrun. I'm not complaining. I'll always take more good wrestling, but I'm just saying, is that this is probably why. The winners of this match, of course, were Takahashi, Hologram, Brody King, and Ishii. It's gonna set up for Kyle Fletcher winning at Forbidden Door. I'm okay with that because we love Kyle Fletcher. We're all Fletch heads around here. Super fun, really fun match. It's not one of those ones where I'm like, oh, you got to go seek this out, which I will say for a lot of TV matches on Dynamite. But this one wasn't as good. It was a ton of fun. It was one of those ones where it's like, yeah, this is why I watch Dynamite every week. Then there was a promo segment between Swerve and Okada, and the crowd was eating it up. They loved it. They said nothing. Swerve was just like, I want to be the the United States, the unified champion. And Okada's like, bitch. And then they brawled a little bit, and that was your segment. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't necessary. But, I liked it. And then properly in the match, or in the show, more matches were announced, but we've already talked about those. And then, of course, we get into a non-title trios match. Which is, I think, the main event, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, it was, of course, the Ops, who are our trios titles, who are injured, not injured, who knows, because they looked fine. It was, of course, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Katsuyori Shibata facing off against LFI, La Fazione Incarnabile, which is Rush, Jalistico, and the Beast Mortos. Which, I love them. They're so much fun to watch. Oh my god, I love the Beast Mortos. I get it, Mercedes Moné. If I was in her shoes, I would do the same thing. Even if I was in Beast Mortos' shoes, I would also do the same thing. Because goddamn, he's so awesome. He's one of my favorite wrestlers, as well as Rush. So, a lot of fun this match as well. And then, this one also went a full segment, which shocked me because of how late in the show it was. And then, of course, the Ops picked up the win. So it looks like they're fine. It might set up for another match in the future. I want LFI to win the titles because I want them to have these opportunities. It's just, I don't know. But it looks really good. And that was the end of the match. Of course it was the end of the match. It was also the end of the show. A very fun show. A really good Dynamite that I'm actually going to rewatch today. So if I forgot anything, I'm going to be kicking myself while watching the show back because I loved it so much and going over it. Again, really good show. Really, underrated show, which is crazy because I'm rating it very highly. So that's how good it is. So I guess any last thoughts about AEW that I have before we move on to the Blue Jays, which is not as much fun as talking about this AEW show was. I guess I would just have to say, now is a good time to get into the show. A better time would have been uh, back in like May, but now is as good a time as ever. Hangman as the champ, and I can see that for a long time. I think if I'm gonna do a little prediction time, I don't know how it happens, but I know for a fact at All Out in Toronto, Cope and Christian are winning the tag belts. It is September 20th. It is a month away, and you can book it now. I just don't know how they're going to get those belts off the Hurt Syndicate. Because the story is they beat FTR for the belts. Everyone's happy, confetti, hug. Life's good. But the issue with that, of course, is Hurt Syndicate has it. If they drop it to FTR is going to have a 3 to 2 week reign, which personally for me, I hate that. I really think that these title belts should be more than just props in a story. It's very Vince Russo of the 90s style booking if they did that. And I guess you don't need the belts, but the moment's not the same. And that's all I'm going to say. I think Hanger is going to hold that belt for a very long time. I think those trios belts, the guy get taken off the Ops sometime soon. And the Ops, I think it is time for them to splinter. They serve their purpose. I think it is time for Hobbs finally to ascend to the main event and be a regular, because that's how I see him, and that's the skill set he has. I just don't think he's being given that position because AEW doesn't like putting those big monsters in that position. Not typically. And that's really disappointing. But I think he can have a really good program with Hangman, especially if he turns on the Ops. Which is funny because that would make him a bad guy, but usually you don't like the Ops. But we love the Ops. A lot of conflicting statements in there. But if we're doing fantasy booking, that's what I would do, legitimately, because I think Hobbs is that good. It's just so easy to cheer for Powerhouse Hobbs, the meat chant man. So it's a tough position, but, I just think he's good enough, and I think he deserves that position. And I think he would be a better heel challenger versus face challenger. Like, if he's a face, you want him to be a champion. And we've seen Hobbs as mid-card champion, and I'm not saying I want him to win the world title, but I'm saying I do want him to win the world title. Not now, but at some point for sure. So, all right. I've delayed it enough. We'll talk about these Blue Jays. That's the Panthers. We're learning. Okay, it's day 3. You didn't see that. So we will, in fact, talk about these Panthers. Which, yeah, does worry me. Or not the Panthers. Oh my goodness. The Blue Jays. My brain's exploding. Just that game yesterday was bad. It was really bad. It was so bad. I didn't even worry about it after an hour. I just watched wrestling. But handy dandy, real, looking through the top plays of the game. Of course, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's been showing up. No matter what, he's been just hot and ready like a Little Caesar's pizza. He picks up an RBI in this game and goes 1 for 3. But that's about where the fun begins and ends. We'll just lightning round it. Bush hits a home run. Shaw hits a home run. Bush hits a sac fly to center. Suzuki, a 1-run single to center. That would be 4 runs in a 4-1 loss, which was really disappointing because we had Kevin Gausman on the mound, the guy that you want to trust in this position. He pitched 7 innings and only had 2 earned runs against, but only 3 strikeouts, which is not very Kevin Gausman of him, and of course allowed 2 home runs, which is more than just runs on the board. When you're giving up home runs, you're giving up mental leads because it is a home run is emotional to give up, and it's emotional to watch give up when your pitcher gives it up. So if you're standing on standing on first base, and your name is Vladimir Guerrero Jr., watching that ball fly, two thoughts will go through your head. The first one will be, well, I got to get one back. And that's the good thought. That's, fuel. The second thought is, ooh, that's not good. That's not good. Ooh, that's not good. And that second thought will overshadow that first thought a lot of the time. And it looks like that's what happened to the Jays. Because they just couldn't get the offense rolling. Lucas 0 for 4, Bichette 0 for 4, Barger 0 for 4, Kirk 0 for 3, Varsho 0 for 3, Luperfido 0 for 2, Ty France 0 for 1, Ernie Clement 0 for 3. Our only guy that had it going was Jimenez and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And Vladdy was 1 for 4, so excuse me. I was wrong earlier. That makes me sick. Reading that out loud makes me sick. That's a horrible night. And of course, this Jays team, maybe this is more realistic to how good they are versus that hot streak they had earlier. Maybe this is what we should expect. Not every day, but on off days. I think it's going to be maybe 20% of the time that they will perform like this. Versus like a month ago when a performance like this was unheard of. And so I guess that's just the nature of baseball. It's so up and down that when you have stuff like that go down, it's just like, oh, it's tough. And we've had a couple games like this lately. So it's been really tough. Not a fan of that in the slightest. So hopefully it gets better. Tonight, facing off against Chicago again. I will make sure I get the time correct, but I think we're going to be doing another 7 p.m. game. I would hope. Oh no, it's at 3:07. So that is going to be in 2 hours, coming up very soon. So if you want to follow along, I should really, oh, this is bad. It took me until day 3. We're having this realization together. It took me till day 3 to realize that at all times I should have my Twitter on the top of the screen, my Twitter and my Instagram, and of course maybe my real Ice Bryce season, because that's just bad from me. I'll own that. I'll own this. This is bad for me because I should have that. Because 3:07. I'm going to be watching Dynamite back, but I also might I'll have the Blue Jay game on, and I will be I'll live tweet. I might start tweeting. Why not? I'll tweet here and there about the Jays, about Dynamite, just about things I like. Most of the time, it'll get 1 to 2 likes, and I'm cool with that. It's just going to be me tweeting into the void. But of course, if this goes somewhere, then, I'll have people. So why not? Start now. It's the advice I'm always giving my people is just do it. Why not? Who cares? Who cares who sees it? Just do it. And if you like it, then you like it. And then you're going to want to do it the rest of your life. I think it's great advice. And I really do believe that. So that's why we're here now. And why not? I'm going to start tweeting about it. I mean, I'm already starting to get active on Reel. So why not? To close off Blue Jays thoughts, I'll give a little preview for the game today. Not tonight, but today. 3:07. Max Scherzer on the mound, who has been better than expected because he's like 41, 42 years old and injury prone. But that doesn't mean he's been good, and I'm worried about tonight. I'm going to expect a high offense game, and I'm going to really hope that our bats come alive. Shout out to Dave Collings in the chat. That is, of course, my dad, who says being at the game last night was a painful experience. I asked him to send me any pictures of fun things going on. Apparently, not many fun things going on. So hopefully today we have a different story, a better experience. So yeah, anyways, today is 3:07 p.m. Max Scherzer starting for us. And let me go get that Chicago starter for you guys. Matthew Boyd, who is 11-5 this year with a 2.45 ERA, with 121 strikeouts. So he's been quite good this year against Toronto batters so far this season. Toronto batters, of course, have a .2331 average, so they're hitting 33 for 143, 40 strikeouts against us. But he's also given up 9 home runs. So maybe the offense comes alive today. That's all we can really hope, because I think this one's going to be an absolute barn burner of a game. I'm not sure if we have the lineup announced, but of course, we'll go take a look. I can see who's active. Oh, okay, so we have our lineup. It's not in order, but batting first Batting first today is, of course, going to be Davis Schneider. He's getting that one slot. And then Ernie Clement in the 2-hole, where he was in the 8-hole yesterday. He gets that promotion. Then it's Vladdy. Then it's Bo. Then it's Ty France, batting 5th, who he's actually been quite good since coming over. And then batting 6th, Addison Barger. 7th, Miles Straw. And then I really got to scroll here for the 8 and 9-hole hitter. 9 is Looper Fido, so he's going to be in for a second straight day. Let's hope he gets that bat going a little more than he has been previously. And then I cannot find who's batting 8th. Let me focus in here, because this is bad. But honesty is the best policy, and I'll be real with you guys. Oh, Trevor Heineman, who is starting at catcher today for our Blue Jays, who has been a surprise for the Jays, just with how effective he's been, really. It's been surprising. He's a guy that's I've seen on a lot of Blue Jay Twitter threads for most surprisingly good player. He's a guy that comes up a lot. It's him, Addison Barger, of course. No one thought Addison Barger would be this good. And guys like Ernie Clement, George Springer, who's been phenomenal in his age of 35-plus year season. So those are some of the guys that I've been really positive about, really happy about. So that's all for the Blue Jays. We'll see how the game goes tonight. Hopefully Max Scherzer can pick up another win in his Hall of Fame career, because I always hope for a Blue Jay win. Moving on now to the Carolina Panthers. Of course, we went over the, it is an unofficial depth chart, but it is released by the team. So we went over the depth chart. And the number one question was, wow, we got 7 wide receivers that all deserve to be on the team. Of course, we're looking at the wide receiver 1 situation being Tetrioa McMillan right here on my side, and his backup being David Moore. We're looking at the 2 slot receivers being Adam Thielen and Hunter Renfrow, 2 guys that play very similarly. And then we're looking at the wide receiver 2. I guess it's the X and the Y, but I don't know which one is which. It changes. Changes team by team, and it changes week by week, it feels like. But on the other side, you of course got Xavier Legette, and he's being backed up by Jalen Coker, who fans think Jalen Coker is going to steal that job, me included. It would have been Jalen Coker on the screen with Bryce, but I couldn't find a stat muse of him. So he might take wide receiver 2 from Xavier Legette. And then the third backup there, the backup to the backup, is Jimmy Horn Jr., who fans love. I mean, everyone loved him coming out of Colorado State, where he was playing with Shedeur Sanders. I think it's Colorado State. It's either Colorado or Colorado State. I think it's Colorado, actually, thinking about it now. One of the two. He came out of a school in Colorado, and that is correct, no matter which way you spin it. And he's just this speedster who runs these crisp routes and really has good hands, which is surprising. He fell all the way to the 6th round just because he's smaller. He's smaller than me, which tells you how small he is. And there's a lot of rumors online that we might have to cut him. I don't think we'll cut him. If we have to put him on the practice squad, a team will scoop him up. So no way that happens. But the question is, can we roll into the season with 7 wide receivers. It's not common. It's usually a 6 wide receiver thing. So that's why I went over to Reel, my favorite sports app, and I asked the question. Panthers fans, are we thinking we'll run 7 wide receivers or cut David Moore, Jimmy Horn Jr., or Hunter Renfrow? And so I got a variety of answers on this, but a lot of them I agree with. So our first one here is from Jimmy Buckets Jr., and he says, I think we cut someone. Doesn't give a name. He's a little more apprehensive to give a name. And then me, being a hater, on my hater time, I say I pray it's David Moore, if anyone, because I just feel like his role is not needed anymore, and he had too many drops last year that just left a sour taste in my mouth. Nate Boosh here says, I feel we could run all 7. We don't have a fullback, and we genuinely have 7 guys who can catch the ball and play wide receiver at an NFL level. We're yet to see that from Jimmy Horn Jr., but I genuinely believe he can do it, and so that's why I fully agree with this take. And it's also why I got 7 upvotes, which is crazy, because I think if we go back, my question, and no one upvoted it, but shout out to this guy. People loved his answer, and again, thank you to anyone who does reply to these. I'm sure you're not seeing this right now, but one day you will, maybe, and I do just want to say thank you. And then our final answer here was by Bryce Young 08, who says Jimmy Horn would be a good kick returner. And I agree. I said, I don't know why he isn't listed on these special teams, because on the depth chart, it says David Moore, Trevor Etienne, it said Hunter Renfrow, and then it said, of course, who was the lead one? Raheem Blackshear. And so it makes you question why he's not being included on that list, because I think he'd cook. I think that's like a perfect role for him. And so it's a shorter real questions, real answers, but I still wanted to give you guys that opportunity. And of course, as the season goes on, there's going to be more questions to be asking the community, so expect real questions, real answers, more frequently. Nothing really new has come out. If we want to get into the brass tacks, J.C. Horn Jr. Was quoted saying about Thornton, the defensive back, cornerback, who has been all over the place. Corey Thornton, I think his name is, Corey. He was quoted as saying that he's not sure why he wasn't drafted, because he deserved to be. And so that's a Dan Morgan UDFA masterclass, 2 years in a row, because I really think this guy might be able to start year 1, but potentially will be a backup year 1 and a starter year 2, which will be huge for this defense, just to find actual startable level guys. I saw another thing of, I think it was the 49ers. In their preseason, they had a middle linebacker that was playing really well, but it looks like he's going to get cut just because it's the 49ers and they have so many good defensive pieces. And I'm calling on Dan Morgan and whoever was the one that tweeted that. And I wish I had that tweet, because I fully agreed with it. I'm calling on him. We got to acquire this guy, and we got to acquire someone to be a middle linebacker, because it's a really sorry-looking list. And then, so I was just looking through the Twitter bookmarks, just seeing if I saved anything for you guys. I did not. I only saved one thing, and it's about the Blue Jays. So we're back. We're back, Blue Jay Nation. Okay. Blue Jays. Let's play ball. The Blue Jays offense since May 8th. This feels fake, but it's not, I hope, because it's by Chris Black on Twitter, who I trust. So we'll see. But we are first in the league since May 8th in the following offensive categories: average, on-base percentage, slugging, WOBA, WRC plus, runs, K percentage, which is strikeout percentage, walks over strikeouts, contact percentage, and the big one, which is wins above replacement. We have the best offense in the league, whole league, since May 8th. The only thing we're not first in is stuff like home run and RBIs, not runs, because we are first in that, but it's counting stats like hits and whatnot. There's stuff that doesn't matter so much in the modern MLB. We are that hot, and just because we're in a cold stretch right now, that does get me worried sometimes. I said I was worried earlier on in the sports hour. There was no reason to not also be excited in that same breath because we've been that good. And it's a classic style of baseball. This is something where I wish I had my dad on to talk more about because he's lived more life than me. I'm 22 years old, and I've only experienced baseball enough to remember since about 2012, 2013, since I was 9, 10 years old. I remember those Jays teams. They were bad, and then they became good. And those teams were so centered around high-octane offenses that hit a lot of home runs, but also had that kind of old school of your leadoff hitter is a speedy guy that gets on base. Your secondary hitter is your best hitter. It was Josh Johnson for us. Sorry, fan. It was Josh Johnson for us when he won MVP. And then we had Jose Bautista and Edwin Encarnacion, 2 power bats. They shifted this up later on by having Jose Bautista be the number 1 hitter later on, which was an analytical move when we had the new office in. But when we were at our best, we played a more classic style and then filled up the lineup with guys that could hit well, occasionally homer. But those teams had their issues. They never made it past the American League series, not divisional series, conference series. They lost to the Indians, now Guardians, and the Royals, and which both teams, Royals went on to win the World Series, Guardians, Indians, they blew a 3-1 lead in the World Series. But both times could have been years the Blue Jays could have won it, especially with those teams, just it didn't come together. The current team's somewhat similar to that, but a lot of people are online saying it's a much more classic style of ball, where every hitter more so just plays to their strength. They're not a team that you're going to see hit home runs all the time. I mean, that Ernie Clement home run streak was so insane, but then you look at a guy like Shohei Ohtani and he's done more. He was on a longer streak during the same time, but Clements felt more special because that's just not something you see from the Blue Jays versus a team like the Dodgers. It's a team that prioritizes making contact a lot. We've bunted and played small ball in the year 2025. It's a lot of fun. And so they're first, and it's been working, which is a far cry from what last season was. So we only have about 5 minutes left here, which I keep teasing it, the Leaf Day, talking about Mitch Marner. But it will come, I promise you, it will come. Just not today, because today was a big AEW Dynamite day. Or Wednesdays and Thursdays are going to be pretty preoccupied by AEW Dynamite and talking about it, so apologies. And of course the Blue Jays, they're just live right now. If I ever get an off day for the Blue Jays where I don't really have anything to talk about for them, then of course, we're really going to go in depth on Mitch Marner. And then of course our Raptors. I could name the roster again. That's really about it for them. So that's all. AEW, looking forward to Collision this Saturday. It looks like that's also going to be really good. We're going to look through their Twitter to see if they've announced anything for it. I don't know if they have. I haven't seen anything announced for it. We're just going to go directly to the Ollie Wrestling Twitter account. So Collision, ooh, okay. Phone fell. But this is really fun. A $100,000 match it's a 4-way. It's going to be Julia Hart, Chris Statlander, Penelope Ford, and Anna Jay facing off. And that's 4 ladies who are also phenomenal. They are so good. You're not going to want to miss that. Chris Statlander tweeted out 50-50 split for Worms in the men's locker room. And my bad bitches on this one. Let's LFG. So Anna Jay says, yes, help funds my innocent, wholesome addiction. So, they're all over this. I'm all over this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I guess to close off the show, we could talk about the Forbidden Door card. Because it's... Oh, actually, no. More collision matches. Jet Speed, which is, of course, Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey, are facing off against Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta. And, of course, that 4-way women's match. We also have Hechicero and Lee Moriarty facing off against Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia in what is labeled as a technical spectacle. So Collision is going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, quick rundown of that Forbidden Door card. Um, it's going to be Zack Sabre Jr. versus whoever wins the technical spectacle. It's going to be the Hurt Syndicate facing off against the winners of FTR versus Brodito, which I think might be FTR, and I think FTR might get the W, and that's how the belt gets on their hands. They hold it for a month and drop it to Cope and Christian. Little quick fancy booking. We also have Adam Copeland and Christian Cage facing off against Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian, which we talked about earlier. We also have Mercedes Moné facing off against Alex Windsor with two other ladies who are also going to be part of that match. It's part of a CMLL Stardom AEW partnership. We also have Kyle Fletcher facing off against Hiroshi. Oh my goodness, I'm going to get his name wrong. I'm just going to say his last name because I feel bad. Takahashi versus Fletcher for the TNT Championship. And then looking the other way, we have the AEW Women's World Championship match. That's Timeless Toni Storm facing off against Athena. We also have the AEW Unified Championship. That's going to be Swerve Strickland versus Kazuchika Okada. The AEW World Championship. That's Hangman Adam Page facing off against MJF. And then our Lights Out Steel Cage match, which is going to be Darby Allin, Tanahashi, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi facing off against the Death Riders, which is Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, Gabe Kidd, and then the last two, which I forgot to mention. Oh my goodness, I feel so bad, but we're doing it now, right at the end of the show. AEW, just before that main event happened, we went backstage. I think it was Lexi Nair who was talking with Jon Moxley and said that Hiroshi Tanahashi is going to be in the Lights Out match. And Jon Moxley goes, Tanahashi, huh. And he's kind of in disbelief. He's feeling fear. He knows he can lose. And so he opens a door, and the two men sitting behind that door, the Young Bucks. And Jon Moxley enters and closes the door. And so that's why the Young Bucks are our final two. And shout out to Austin Collings, our Japanese expert here, for knowing how to actually pronounce names. It is Hiromu Takahashi and Hiroshi Tanahashi. That's the difference. And either way, both of those matches are going to be fantastic. Every match on that card is going to be fantastic. No matter who is in that tag match, and no matter who are the ladies that wind up being in the TBS title match. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm not even going to get to watch it live because of Fan Expo that day. So, womp womp. It's going to be a lot of fun though. Check it out if you're not checking it out. And of course, AEW, if you have a TSN account and you missed it last night, you could go on to On Demand, and most likely you will be finding AEW Dynamite. Because it is that good that I would recommend seeking it out, even watching it when it's not live. So, we're getting to the end of our Sports Talk Hour. So I do want to say thank you for tuning in, whoever did tune in and watch this, and whoever is watching right now. You chose the end to tune in, but you chose to tune in regardless. So thank you. We still got 2 minutes here until I wind down. 1 minute now. The clock just switched over. Tomorrow is going to be a fun day. It's going to be Blue Jays, of course. Hopefully they beat the Cubs today. It's going to be a lot less AEW because a lot less to talk about unless stuff gets announced. Maybe we get into Mitch Marner. And of course, tomorrow is going to be Friday, so we're going to do a little Panthers preview because we're facing off against the Texans on Saturday. So we'll talk about that, and then, of course, Saturday. You might see me live, but this is planned to be a Monday through Friday thing. So if you enjoyed it, tune in tomorrow, and if you enjoy it then, tune in Monday. Thank you very much. Until next time, the Yap session is over.